This week on the World Triathlon podcast, we have a bit of a Montreal special previewing a big weekend of racing with some of the stars of the show and starting with Great Britain's Non Stanford. The 2013 world champion and a Rio 2016 Olympian, Non switched the blue carpet for the red carpet at Tokyo 2020, working for the BBC covering the Olympic triathlon. So Non, thanks for coming on and finding the time while in your room in Montreal.
Time is something that I have a lot of right now, being as we're in 3-day full quarantine. So my pleasure, and thank you for having me along.
So yes, obviously this weekend is World Triathlon's first sort of foray into the elimination format on Friday and Saturday. Mixed relay on Sunday. How are you feeling ahead of the weekend? Excited to be going with this format? Is it one that you've done before with Super League?
No, I've never actually. I have done a little bit of Super League a few years ago. So I've done a little bit of it, but I didn't do super well, actually. So I'm hoping that this weekend goes a lot better than my first foray into Super League. So yeah, I'm doing something different and seeing how I stack up against the other girls. You know, it's going to be completely different. Nobody really knows, I guess, where they stand with this kind of new format. I'm kind of thinking it's going to favour the younger, faster generation of athletes coming through, but hopefully us older athletes can hold our own as well. Is
Montreal, have you raced much in Montreal over the years as well? It's obviously been part of the circuit for quite a long time.
Do you know what? Actually, this is my first time in Montreal. For one reason or another, I've never actually made it out to race here. So yeah, super excited to be here and see the course. Yeah, hopefully going to have a good and memorable race.
And Sunday is mixed relay as well. No GB, sadly. Obviously, the Olympic champs probably taking a well-earned rest, and only Grant Sheldon on the men's side. But as far as your, so yes, you were working for the BBC during Tokyo 2020. It must have been enjoyable and perhaps slightly frustrating. Was it like being on the other side of the camera? But lovely to obviously still be so closely involved with it and to be able to sort of share it in a very different way.
Yeah, of course, it was very different to what I'm used to, but I absolutely loved the experience of working for the BBC and was incredibly grateful for the opportunity to be on the other side and see how things work from the other side. And of course, I was really disappointed not to be racing in Tokyo myself, but do you know what? When one door closes, another one opens, and I still had a really positive experience during the games period by working with the BBC, and hopefully opened a few doors for me when I'm no longer competing in triathlon myself. I'd love to be involved in the media side of our sport and still enjoying and being involved in the sport, but in a different capacity.
Had you done anything like that before on that sort of scale? And it was fully live, was it?
Yeah, it was completely live. It was all in a green room studio, so everything that you saw in the BBC. So for those people living outside of the UK, it really looked like the presenters were sat in a studio overlooking Tokyo, but in fact it was a green room in Manchester. No views whatsoever. All that was real was the table and chairs. So it was incredible what the BBC managed to do and really kind of brought Tokyo to the homes of our nation. And it was incredible to see firsthand how that worked and all the hard work that went into it, and to sort of learn how TV works and what happens behind the scenes. And no, I've never done anything like that before. I've done some commentating in the past, but that's quite different when you're sat in a box and you're pretty faceless, you're just a voice. So it was cool to experience a different side of TV and be in front of the cameras and working with some fantastic presenters and sports reporters, and meeting some amazing stars of British sport who have achieved a lot more than I have. So I felt quite privileged to have been asked to do that.
Who was some of the people you were kind of rubbing shoulders then with, and who was kind of anchoring the whole thing?
So I was, the presenters that I was on set with were JJ Chalmers, Alex Scott and Claire Balding. So they're pretty big names in BT sport. And then the other pundits for their various sports included Chris Hoy, Rebecca Adlington, Mark Foster, Beth Tweddle. So yeah, I was really, really fortunate. And Michael Johnson was also there. So that was a starstruck moment when I got to meet him and sit in the green room with him before going on set.
He as sort of cool, calm and collected as he appears when he's doing his stuff?
100%. Yes, he is exactly as he comes across on the TV or when you saw him racing. He is a lovely guy, but yeah, completely chilled and completely cool. And I was trying my best to remain cool and not embarrass myself in front of him. But he was really nice and asked all about triathlon and was really interested. And I think he enjoyed watching the highlights of the triathlon race. So hopefully we have a new fan in Michael Johnson
and Michael Douglas, right? I mean, it's all about the A-list Michaels after Tokyo. Did you see he was doing a
yeah 100%. We're bringing in the celebs these days.
And I mean, was it something that you sort of had? Did you have to have like a fair bit of training leading in? Obviously, if you're on live TV and someone sort of throws to you and then it's your turn and I
went in cold turkey. I turned up at the studio. They put earpieces in my ears, obviously mic'd me up. And to be honest with you, I thought I was going there to commentate from the commentary box. And it was only when I was kind of on set and I realized like the race was about to start. And I was like, guys, I think I need to be in the commentary box. And they're like, no, plan. You're in the studio for the whole thing. So yeah, I was thrown in completely blindly, but fortunately there were no hiccups. And it went smoothly, and yeah, I absolutely loved it. So it was definitely a great experience.
And as far as the kind of atmosphere around the relay, was it all going kind of crazy? Were you losing your mind as Vince passed Alex going through what was it? It was at the bell on the bike.
Yeah, it was pretty intense. I think I sat the whole race sort of tapping my foot nervously on the floor. And JJ, my co-host, was pacing around the studio, getting really nervous. And then as we sort of were onto the run, we all stood up and cheering and shouting. And yeah, I was pretty nervous actually when Vince overtook Alex, but Alex was fantastic and responded so well. Especially when you consider his age and maturity and experience compared to that of Vince's. He handled the situation really well. So yeah, we're all very, very proud of that mixed relay team, of course. The first ever Olympic champions is a pretty special title to have. And I know the four of them are celebrating well back home right now.
So yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting to have that side of it, to be able to have those avenues as, inevitably when you start thinking about your career beyond actually racing, many go on to do many, many different things, but to be able to stay in the sport and to be able to do something like that is obviously, incredibly valuable and potentially a whole new career, but not something that will come to many people.
Yeah, absolutely. Every athlete's career has a shelf life. Unfortunately, it's not something you can do forever. And, there comes a point in everyone's career where you do have to start thinking about the future and making plans. And, it's a big talking point in elite sport. I think when people come to retirement, they potentially feel a bit lost because they don't know what they want to do after retirement. And also sort of regimented days and planned days and structure and people telling you what to do has kind of been our whole life. So when that's suddenly taken away, it's very hard to adapt. So, I'm 32 now and I'm not 100% sure when I'll retire, but I am definitely planning and thinking about what my life post triathlon would look like. And I would love to move into the media side of triathlon and still be involved in the sport in some capacity. I have a few ideas, not just the media, because it's a difficult industry to break into. And, if you're realistic, triathlon is only on the TV 8-9 times a year. So, I have to have other plans as well. But it would be a dream to move into the media side of triathlon in some capacity, or sport as well, more generally.
Is the UK going to be your sort of home going forward, is it, or is it Australia? Obviously, Aaron Royal, your husband as well, so you have strong links to both.
Yeah, I guess you haven't fully decided. I'm a strong, strongly back the UK. I'd love to be close to my friends and family, but equally, on the flip side, it's the same. And we both have great friends and family on either side of the world. I've got a fantastic support group over in Wollongong, where we live in Australia, and Aaron the same in Leeds, where we live. So I guess it'll just come down to who gets employed first and where.
Also, not really the time to be making those sort of decisions still yet, unfortunately, is it, with the world as it is. How was it for you, sort of, you were obviously, did you move to Australia, well, just after Mooloolaba? Did you then stay in Australia at the start of 2020?
We headed over to Australia about a week into the British lockdown, so that was end of March. We didn't race Mooloolaba, that was never part of the plan, but for a few reasons we headed over to Australia when lockdown hit the UK, and ended up being there for a lot longer than we thought. We thought we'd be there for a few months and then the season would resume and life would go back to normal, but obviously, as everybody knows, that never happened, and we ended up being in Australia for around 14-15 months, which meant we could actually buy a house, which is something that we've been planning to do for a really long time in Australia. So it gave us the opportunity to do that, and it was great to sort of spend so much time there and really feel settled in Australia, because I've only ever spent sort of a few weeks at a time there, and it finally gave me the opportunity to feel far more settled over there.
Was there a sense from being in Media City and stuff around the Olympics, was there a sense that everything that had happened over the previous 18 months was kind of enhancing, in a way, the performances of the athletes in Tokyo? Did you get a sense of that from people that had obviously covered many Olympics previously as well?
I think it was mixed on whether the delay enhanced or took away from the athletes' performances. I think it was very individual to each athlete. For some of the younger athletes, it obviously gave them an extra year of development, and therefore, I'm sure, resulted in a better result than they might have had in 2020, or even resulted in them being selected. They might not have been selected before that. And maybe the flip for some of the older athletes that thought that maybe 2020 was going to be their final hurrah and they were going to set sail into the sunset and be done with, or whatever sport they were competing in. I think that extra year really took its toll. So I think it's a real mixed bag. But it was, I think, regardless, I think the whole atmosphere was just, everyone was just really grateful that the games did go ahead. And obviously, from the media's point of view, it was a very different and very tricky situation that they were in. BBC, for example, had only very limited people on the ground in Tokyo, and the whole operation had to come from the other side of the world in Manchester, and that presented many challenges. And there were honestly people working around the clock there to deliver the games. But I think the whole world would agree it was a huge success. And I think, it's shown the world that hopefully we can resume normal life, whatever that is, over the coming months. And this pandemic isn't going to rule us forever.
I suppose the best thing in hindsight is that we can look back at the games and say with unequivocally that it was the right thing that they still went ahead.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it was a success, and fortunately, I don't think there was any sort of major outbreaks, and hopefully everything, the risks were minimized and nothing major happened. And I think a lot of people were grateful for the distraction and something to celebrate, outside of what's happening around the world. So for sure, I think it was a success. And I think everyone will be looking forward to Paris in 3 years' time now.
As someone that's, won big races on some of the biggest stages, a packed Hamburg, quite an incredible place to win, I would imagine. Like the idea of winning an Olympics in almost silence, does that seem kind of a bit of a strange thing to you, or would you imagine it probably actually wouldn't even sort of register?
I think because my only experience of the Olympics was Rio, and there was a lot, we were really fortunate there were big crowds there and a lot of support. And I think your whole idea of the Olympics is, packed stadiums and athletes winning their medals in front of huge crowds. And from my perspective, I wasn't in Tokyo, but from my perspective, I think it's a massive shame that those athletes experience those games without that, because I think it is a big part of competing in a major sporting event, having the support and the big crowds there. And I do think it elevates performances, and it must be very eerie and odd racing in front of crowdless stadiums and streets, but at the end of the day, if you're walking away with your Olympic gold medal, I'm pretty sure you don't really mind that much. And at the end of the day, it's about the performances that the athletes produce, and that's the most important thing. So yeah, it'd be interesting to hear the opinion of those people that were there racing and how they found it. Really, it's going to be unique games, and games that will go down in history. And I think the athletes that were there will be grateful that they got to experience that slice of history. Yes, it wasn't a normal games, but it'll definitely be one of the games that's remembered forever.
And for people like it, had there been fans there and had every time Simone Biles sort of walked into that gymnastics arena, the place had erupted. One wonders if that twisties thing would have ever happened, right? Maybe everything being so completely different contributed quite heavily to that as well. It's a funny one, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm sure. The crowds not being there affected athletes both positively and negatively. Some athletes might have felt a relief of pressure because they weren't having to perform in front of huge crowds, and for the home nation athletes, maybe walking out into a roaring crowd would have been really intimidating. But for other athletes, I'm sure having massive crowd support would really lift and elevate their performances. So I think it would depend on the individual athletes how they react to it. And for the bigger sports who are used to competing in front of crowds, it must have been really different. But there are many small sports that aren't used to competing in front of big crowds. So yeah, I think it would have affected individual athletes very differently.
And crowds should be back this weekend in Montreal, so that's going to be fun. And obviously, yes, this new elimination format, which should get them whipped up as well. What's the schedule like for you then after once you're out of quarantine? Is it?
Yes, we should be out of quarantine because I arrived on Saturday. I should be out of quarantine by Wednesday morning, so I'll be allowed to go along to the training venues and get some training done. To be honest with you, I won't be changing too much from my normal pre-race routine. I don't normally do masses of training in the last couple of days before a race. So yeah, no, things won't really change, just a few sharpeners, a few strides, stuff like that. But yeah, because it's such an unknown event, I don't also want to try and, I guess, recreate the wheel by doing anything crazy or stupid before the race. So it'll just be the same build-up as normal. And hopefully it puts me in good stead to race well.
So, and just for those listening, as an explainer, there's two qualifiers, two men's qualifiers and two women's qualifiers over the super sprint distance, and then a repechage for a further 10 athletes to potentially qualify from those that didn't from those two. And then that translates to the finals on Saturday with 30 athletes on the start line, which is whittled down to 20 and then to 10. So potentially, if you went through the repechage route as well and got to the final, that would be 5 super sprints in 2 days.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of racing, that's for sure. And that might favour some of the, let's say earlier, I think the format generally favours sort of the faster younger athletes, but the extra rounds might start to play into the favour of the older, more experienced athletes who might have a bit more endurance. But it's completely unknown, and again, we'll find out who suits this new format as the race unfolds. But it'll certainly be exciting, and I'm sure lots of twists and turns and unexpected events.
Absolutely. All right, brilliant. Well, best of luck at the weekend. Thanks ever so much for taking the time. Really good to speak to you.
No worries. Thanks for having me along.
Next up, we have Australia's Matt Hauser, the 2017 Junior World Champion, also fresh from his exploits in Tokyo, with big ambitions for Paris 2024 and, more pressingly, also ready and raring to go in Montreal and Edmonton. So, Matt, how are you?
Well, thanks, mate. Yep, good to go as you. Coming off the trip of a lifetime in Tokyo, and yeah, was able to spend a week in Claremont, Florida, with a few of the Aussie guys, and then landed here in Montreal to start a 3-day quarantine. So ready to go for the weekend.
It really was the trip of a lifetime, was it? It lived up to everything that you had presumably built up in your mind quite closely as well.
Yeah, it was a fantastic experience just to see and be involved with everything in the village, and to have all those amazing athletes and experiences around me was something money can't buy, and I'm sure I'll be better off come hopefully my second games in Paris in only 3 years' time now.
And yeah, it will be good to hear more about that, obviously, but equally, that was your first sort of race back alongside the top tier, the top table for quite a while. Obviously, you've been racing a lot in Oceania as well. But yeah, coming back to Edmonton 2019 for your last World Series race. So, those races, your Chengdu World Cup win, your Nursultan World Cup win, they must feel like a very long time ago, like a lifetime ago, really. But
yeah, definitely. And it has been hard being effectively locked up in Australia. It's been a good, safe environment where we've been able to get some good, hard training done. Squad on the Gold Coast and Dan Atkins. But yeah, you can't buy the international experience. And that's what I've been lacking over the past 18 months. And was found out a little bit in Tokyo, but they're really keen to try and access some of that form again in these World Series races coming up. And really looking forward to it. I think Montreal plays to my strengths, and I performed well here in 2019, as you said, having my first top 10 in the sprint distance there. So halving the distance this time, hopefully it'll be less room for error, but more room for success as well.
When you're winning kind of back-to-back World Cups like you were in 2019, how does that sort of change the way you're approaching races and
Yeah, major confidence. I won my debut World Cup in Chengdu back in 2017. So, to have those results behind me, to know that I can perform at that level, is extremely encouraging. And although World Cup racing isn't quite as at the level as World Series racing, it's still up there competing against a few of the guys. So, I'll be looking to try and access some of that form again, as I said, and gives me confidence to know I can be there with the right work and performances behind me.
And Montreal this weekend, another really good opportunity for you, presumably, to feel like you can scoop like a career best performance. Like this new format is obviously some sort of fairly large unknowns for quite a lot of athletes that haven't necessarily done it before, beyond the Super League as well. But you must be confident, like it must play to your strengths, these sort of short, sharp races as well, do they?
Yeah, I believe it does. And I really enjoy the racing. And I think if you enjoy what you're doing, you're going to do well in it regardless. So, and obviously there's going to be a lot of unknowns coming out of Tokyo. A few people having to prepare in different ways and manners. So, I'm certainly leaving Tokyo very focused and motivated to try and hit these next couple of races before I go back to Australia, where I won't be able to do too much. But that's the thing. I'll be trying to squeeze everything out of the rest of this season and perform at my best, and hopefully get another great result here in Montreal.
So tactically, how does it work? Obviously, so there's two qualifiers, there's two men's races to qualify, and then a repechage. And it's, it's all about finishing in that top 10, but at the same time, preserving as much juice as you can, particularly for the finals when there's three races in such short succession. But as far as the awareness of what's around you, where you are in the field, if you're kind of hovering around the sort of 9, 10, 11, 12 mark, coming to the finish there, and you've got to get into that top 10, how does that work?
Yeah, I think you've got to be kind of tactical with it. I think for a lot of these races, they're going to be quite front end, so swim bike dominant, which will allow hopefully a few of the athletes up front to not necessarily ease up, but to try and conserve as much energy as possible, just to sneak into that top 10 or just to qualify and get through the next round. It's going to be back to back racing in the final, especially if you get all the way through to the end. So it's going to be all about conserving as much energy as possible, but also not risking your position at all. So I'm expecting a lot of front end racing, and the first boy challenge should be pretty exciting in the swim as well. No doubt a bit of carnage, but that's why we love it. And, I've been doing a few of these races in Australia, a few of these same formats. Obviously, it's becoming more and more prominent in the scene of triathlon, and hopefully towards the Olympics to come as well, we'll be able to see that the super sprint format debut. We've obviously seen it in the mixed team relay, how effective it's been to engage the wider audience, being exciting in short, sharp racing. So no, it's really exciting.
And on that mixed team relay, obviously you were part of the Aussie team in Tokyo, lining up there, the four of you, for the introduction and so on. Was that like one of your moments of the games, really? Yeah,
especially just the pride and the honor of being able to represent in the relay. Only two guys from our country get a chance to, and I was lucky enough to be one of those guys. And a lot of Australian men nowadays would have filled that spot quite comfortably. But I was just honoured to be there, to put it all on the line. We suffered out there, but we definitely got everything, and that's all you could ask for. And my last mixed team relay race at that level was Edmonton, where I gave the team a 10-second penalty or 15-second penalty. So I was happy not to do that again. It was a success in my eyes in that instance.
The pressure of being in a team, everyone says, the mixed relay is a great opportunity because it's a rare one for performing as a team. But then I guess when you're suddenly lining up on an Olympic start line, everything, like the pressure of even every transition, right? Was that all heightened? Did you feel like a real sense of extra kind of responsibility going through there?
There is a little bit of extra angst, I guess, in the moment, knowing that you've potentially got the weight of your country on your shoulders. But I think you're just trying to strip it back to what you know. And a short and sharp racing, you got to have your mind on the task and be able to adapt quickly. I don't think you can reflect on it too much. I think you've just got to not worry about anyone else, not worry about it, effectively not worry about your teammates. You just got to put your head down and try and tag in the best position as possible. And at the end of the day, it is still an individual leg. You're doing 4 individual legs, so you just got to put your heart on the line and try and give everything. Yeah.
And ahead of the individual, obviously, this was heading into your first Olympic experience, and how was the atmosphere around the village? Were you able to, you're part of like a huge unit that is Team Australia. Were you getting good advice from people? Were you trying to keep your head down? Were there quite a lot of distractions around the village?
There wasn't too many distractions. I think we kind of agreed as a team unit to try and keep it as professional as possible and to try and limit exposures, etc., with the whole situation going on. But I think we managed well, just to stick as a unit in the Team Australia tower. There was so much success coming around us with the swim team that first week, and and all the gold medals we raked in. It was quite motivating to be able to see that, and to be able to want to one of those stories, I guess, coming out of the game. So yeah, although I did keep it in perspective, it was my first game, so I knew that the pressure was effectively off, and I just had to try and give everything. And I was speaking to Ali Brownlee for the race, and he said, few people overperform at the games, few people perform as they should, and then a lot of people underperform. So that kind of gave me confidence to know that all I needed to do was just perform, how I know I could, and it'd be a good result for me in my country. So.
And as far as the team relay here in Montreal goes, the team lineup, like there's a lot of Aussies here, obviously Brandon Copeland as well, and yourself, and there's a lot of options on the men's and women's side. So what's the official kind of line as far as the lineup for the mixed relay on Sunday?
Yeah, well, it'll be largely due to how we all go and on the individual stage. I think, obviously, if you're in form and you're showing that, especially over the same distances as it'll be in the mixed team relay, you'll definitely put a strong case forward to selection in the mixed team relay on Sunday. Our high performance team will no doubt put the best foot forward, and it's great to have Brandon Copeland alongside me here. We are definitely challenging for one of those spots, and it's his first WTCS race in a while as well. So no doubt he'll be ready and raring to go. Obviously, having a bit more of an ideal preparation, not having to head into Tokyo on a race as well. So,
and only 3 years to Paris. So, yes, the Tokyo Games have only just finished, but that shorter period sort of, in a way, it kind of makes everything more exciting. Like the prospect of Paris, it doesn't seem kind of crazy to be thinking about that already. So you must already as well be thinking, right, came away with a great individual result, could definitely sort of, sounds like you feel like there are areas you could improve and so on. And likewise with the relay. So a lot of excitement and a lot of preparation already. You got Joel Filial starting as part of the high performance crew in Australia as well at the moment, right? So like a very exciting 3 years ahead for you.
Extremely exciting. Yeah. And as I mentioned, I want to be a part of those Olympic stories and a part of that Olympic experience again. So a lot of the next 3 years will be dedicated to that, and coming off the experience that I had in Tokyo, it'll be highly motivating and a bit of a chip on the shoulder situation heading into hopefully my second games. We'll have Birmingham as well, just around the corner next year. So it's obviously not too far away as well. So it kind of all rolls into one, having that year off in 2020. Which I think is a good thing. I think it was 2020 was a good time to reset and refocus and to put the pressure off. So now that we can really ramp it up and give it everything these next year or two, or effectively 3 lead of Paris. As you mentioned, Joel leading the charge in the Triathlon Australia high performance team now, and it'll be really great to have him supporting us and being able to access his knowledge and experience in the game as well. I think it'll be invaluable. So credit to Triathlon Australia locking down him for the next few years.
Yeah, so you mentioned Dan Atkins. He's been your coach for a long time, is he? And then Joel will kind of oversee the sort of holistic, the overall thing. How long have you been working with Dan? What is it that he specifically brings to your racing and training?
I've been working for Dan ever since I moved to the Gold Coast, and probably a little bit before that. I remember as a young boy in Harvey Bay traveling down to the Gold Coast, which is about a 5-hour drive, to train, with the likes of Calvin Quirk and Dan Coleman and junior guys coming through the ranks, and seeing their progression with Dan, and it kind of made my choice pretty clear cut to head to Dan, and it's worked ever since. I mean, I've had a lot of great successes with him over the years, and he's been able to set up just a great training environment with a lot of good guys and girls on the Gold Coast, and it's worked for a lot of people. So, and he's also a great mate of mine, so it makes working with him a lot easier. And there's always this banter and around, and makes professional work that little more special if you're doing it with friends.
He's here in Canada with you, is he?
He won't be here in Canada. No, he's actually kicking on for the Paralympic Games in Japan. So he's He's in Mount Fuji at the moment, I believe, preparing, because he's got the likes of Katie Kelly, and our guide Bree, and also Lauren Parker to head the charge for Triathlon Australia, the para team. So yeah, he's got a lot of work ahead of him over the next few weeks.
Very cool. And you likewise, obviously, straight from Montreal to Edmonton, and you mentioned this will be your last throw of the dice in the under 23s as well. So yeah, junior world champ. This would be a great next step, and another huge launch ahead of, like you said, the Birmingham Com Games, and then into Paris as well. Pretty pumped for Edmonton too.
Yeah, very pumped. As you said, it's my last year for under 23s, and it's a great opportunity to have another shot at a title. Yeah, keeping in perspective, Brownlee is the only one to do junior under 23 and elites. So ideally that'd be a great achievement in itself. So yeah, to try and line up for under 23 World Championship is a great honour, and I really look forward to giving it everything as well for Triathlon Australia.
Brilliant. Well, all the very best of luck, obviously, Matt, and thanks ever so much for taking the time again.
Appreciate it, Doug.
And hopefully, catch up with you like in the coming years as well, and see how the plans have all gone.
Hopefully smooth sailing, mate. Hopefully I get out of Australia again.
Great. Cheers, Matt. Next up, we hear from Germany's Laura Lindemann, fresh from a top 10 individual finish and a brilliant opening leg for the German mixed relay team at the Tokyo 2020 Olympics. Laura, hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm good, yeah.
So, in Montreal as well, ahead of the weekend. Obviously, with 8th at the Olympics, 9th in Leeds, the world rankings are very tight there, from kind of 3rd place down to 10th. You're sitting in 9th at the moment, right? So good results in Montreal and Edmonton, and can be having your sights on a podium at the end of the year, maybe.
I didn't do the math a lot about this, but yeah, I just hope for good results in these 2 races, and maybe get up in the ranking. That would be nice.
We heard from Non-Stanford about the sort of specifics of the format of this weekend's action in Montreal. And it's over obviously very similar distances, the sprint distance, super sprint distance to the relay in Tokyo. How do you personally adjust your race tactics for over those shorter distances?
I don't know. Yeah, it's a bit like the relay distance, but it's more races, obviously. It's not just one all out, so we'll be a bit tactical, I think. And the first part is just to get through the qualifier as relaxed as possible, but also as safe as possible. And then see what happens on the second day. I don't know, I think I never did something like this, 3 in a row with 15 minutes of break or something. And it will be very interesting, I guess.
So when it was announced that this was going to be the new format, what was your what was your reaction as an athlete? Who obviously every athlete has their own preferences, and some would certainly prefer a super sprint, I guess. Some just naturally prefer a standard distance. So for you, was it something that kind of excited you as a different challenge, or, your display in Tokyo obviously spoke for itself as far as what you can do over that distance as well?
To be honest, I didn't know that it would be that kind of format. I thought the whole time it would be a qualifier final format, like the European champs. So since a week, I think I know the real format. But I'm excited, and I think I like the short distances as well as Olympic distance. So I think it will be brutal a little bit. I mean, I know Super League, and Super League is also very brutal, and so will be maybe very tough, because the shorter the more lactate, I think, and the tougher the race.
So, if you qualified for the final day, but through the repechage, for example, and then got to the final of the final day, that final race, that would be 5 super sprints in 2 days. Like, compared to a standalone Olympic distance, what effect does it have on the body? How does it react in comparison?
Yeah, I think it's super important to recover from each race and to be as relaxed at the start line as possible, and be as recovered as possible on the start line of each race, and but also to stay focused, because you have to stay in the, for example, for the final day, to stay in the top 20 and then in top 10, and then just all out at the last race. And it will be very interesting, and never did something like this. So.
And how are you feeling after Tokyo? Obviously a huge effort, and I would imagine considerably more kind of emotionally charged, and the sort of the build up and so on, and then two big races. So afterwards, did you feel, I don't know, more exhausted, shall we say, than usual?
Nah, I feel more happy about the race, and that I improved my swimming so much. I had really good swimming and good biking, and just very motivated for the rest of the season.
As we mentioned, like you smashed that opening leg of the relay for Germany as well. It was Jess and Katie sort of pulling away at one stage on the run a little bit, but then Jess was obviously slowing, and then you had just that extra bit of juice left in the tank for the final sprint before handing over to Jonas, right? How were you? Can you remember much about that leg?
Yeah, it was really tough. Like, the girls were swimming very fast, and I just to hang on the bike, and like, okay, if I'm in this group, that's good. We're making time to the rest of the field. That was the plan. That was good. And then on the run, really felt the start of the race, the hard swimming and the tough biking. And then I was trying to run hard from the beginning, but I just didn't have the legs at the beginning. So the other girls, like Jess and Katie, were pulling away, and I was like, okay, just hold the gap, just try to make up every second that I can, because there's a whole team on the other side, and they believe in me, and they say Lindemann is giving at the front. So try to do that. And then on the second lap of the run, I was like, okay, maybe everyone is hurt. Maybe the other ones are dying a little bit in the front. And then I saw the gap getting closer, and I was like, okay, just sprint all out to the line to give up to Jonas, so that we'll be in the first group. And that was that was all good, and I was very happy to close the gap on the last meters.
Yes. Well, and then he absolutely hammered that first stretch run towards the dive as well. That was quite something to watch, just sort of brushing, I think, Kevin McDowell behind aside as well. I suppose a bit of a shame for you guys in a way that Johnny Brownlee's he pulled out one of the most impressive kind of legs that, I mean, he was the fastest in the field by a long way, and never sort of relented, right? But, Germany, you were 6th at the end, and obviously that as a team must have been very pleased to come away and have produced such great performances across the 4 legs.
Yeah, we were very happy with the position in the end. 6th place is great at the Olympics. And the team, everyone gave their best, and it was just a very good team. And we were very happy at the finish.
After that, so that was the Saturday morning. Did you then finally get a little bit of time to kind of enjoy the athletes village and so on? I mean, obviously I'm sure you did in the lead up as well, but to do it without the prospect of races and so on, how was your sort of Olympic experience and your memories from it?
Yeah, that was also nice after the races to do everything that you don't really want to do before, like go to the shop and buy some souvenirs for friends and family, and I don't know, eating some ice cream from the cafeteria. And that was nice. I mean, it was sad that we couldn't watch other sport, so that would have been very cool to watch other sports, but because of the COVID situation, it wasn't allowed. But yeah, I just enjoyed the time in the village, and yeah, that was nice too.
Any particular like star moments? I saw, everyone seemed to be getting their photo with Novak Djokovic, and so
I got a picture with the high jumper Mutas Bashim. I was really
very cool.
I just saw him on the way and I was like, oh my God, like I love his style of jumping, and I follow him on Instagram, and then he posts all the videos of him jumping, and it's so like spectacular how high he can jump and how like aesthetic it looks. And yeah, so I was very happy to get a picture with him.
And as far as, leaving with kind of absolute sort of delight in your own performance as well, were you, like you said, you felt like you had delivered improvements in your swim and your bike, and that had obviously, set you well up for producing that valuable kind of top 10 finish that you must have been really proud of.
Yeah, that was really good. And also like dealing with the pressure and stuff, that was like, yeah, you have the feeling like, okay, I can do it. I can deal with the pressure. I can perform, even if it's like, yeah, it is the Olympics. It's also just a triathlon race in the end. So yeah, that was great to achieve that.
Did you feel, stood on that start line, and it was obviously like, fresh off a typhoon and so on. So that adds another layer of complication to things. It did, you could definitely see a little bit of nerves and tension in faces that perhaps you don't quite see as much of in the World Series and so on. Did you get a sense of that?
Yeah,
not just for yourself, but collectively as well from other people on the line alongside you.
Yeah, I think, you can feel it. Like everyone is a bit more nervous, and yeah, it's like the whole situation is just a bit more tense, and yeah, you can definitely feel that in the athletes lounge and everywhere. Yeah.
And as a team, as for Germany, you and Jonas had obviously qualified in your own rights as well, and then the extra 2 slots it was a super sprint kind of one-off qualification event for Germany, wasn't it, that Annabelle and Eustace qualified through. So quite an unusual way of doing it, but do you feel like that it obviously worked? Is it something that you would imagine will be repeated for Paris? Obviously it's way off yet, but just in terms of the way that all probably also brought a different layer of kind of slight stress and pressure as well, like feeling about that performing as a team, right? I mean, it's not something you've thought about, going into Rio, it was all about you and your first games, and then this time it's like, okay, wow, obviously I'm going to focus on my individual, but we got to perform as a team as well here.
Yeah, I mean, I think the test that the German Federation put up for the 2 other spots was just for the team relay, because it was just a team relay distance. So it was good to select 2 for the team relay, but I think, it is also very, I don't know, you don't know who you get on the day. Like, I mean, on this day, everything was all right. Like these 2 were just the best on the day, and that was fine. But you can also have like a very one situation with someone having a flat tire or someone crashing, and like it's very you can have a good selection, or you can also have like a very stupid day for some. And I think it was also for the rest of the girls and boys who tried to qualify a very hard day. Like for everyone who didn't qualify, it was mentally tough, I guess. And but I mean, a selection for the Olympics is always a tough decision for the federation. And hope for Paris. Maybe we have a selection through maybe some individual races and relay selection stuff. That would be cool, because then you have someone who is obviously also very good in the individual and also good in the relay. That would be perfect. But you never know.
No. Well, I suppose it's one thing that the sort of lead up to Tokyo showed that there is probably no perfect way of resolving who gets on the team, is there, from whichever team it is. And obviously that was somewhat amplified by the COVID situation as well, which kind of took opportunities away, didn't it? So the future of German triathlon is still bright. And how much do you feel like, having Hamburg as a race that is obviously such a firm fixture on the calendar and so on, and you've had great results there over the years, silvers and bronzes in both the individual and the relay. So for you personally, and obviously it was the only series race to happen last year. So, to have that on the schedule for you as a German athlete must be pretty special. Yeah,
it is. And like, having a home race is always special, I guess. And Hamburg is such a nice race. In the old city town, it's very nice. And also in the park, it was okay. I mean, it was because of the whole COVID situation, they did whatever they could do. So it was good to have a race. And to have a race in Hamburg is always special. And having the home crowd, and it's so important for all the Germans watching, and that makes you feel like very special. And that's cool to have in the series. And I couldn't imagine a series without like having Hamburg. That would be not as nice. No. I know it's just such a big crowd when there's no COVID situation, of course. But it's the first impression I think I got is that you can even hear the crowd in the swim. It's very special because you swim like next to the harbor thing, and then you can hear the crowd from the swim. Was amazing. And then everyone's screaming the name, like every corner someone I know, and that was very special to have so many people that I know and that know me. And I think that. So
your first experience of it was actually racing it, was it? You didn't ever go with.
It was never before. I just watched it on TV.
And I suppose the shift to the park was similar to the Leeds situation, right? It's gone from a very kind of iconic city centre out to a park, and it definitely felt different, but it was still a success.
But it felt different, but I mean, it was still Hamburg. It was still easy travel for me, and I could have everything I wanted there, because it's kind of like home. And it was still the Hamburg thing for me, I guess. And also still there were my friends and family there. That was good. I mean, they couldn't watch the race, but they were there, and that was good.
I don't think you can sort of underestimate the impact of being able to race at home, whether it's having friends and family there watching, or like you said, the ease of getting to it, and just the familiarity of it all, right? I was talking to Christian Blumenfeld after his Tokyo race, and he was talking about Bergen potentially coming on the circuit as well over the next years, and what that would mean to him and to Norway and so on. And I mean, that would be a great addition, wouldn't it?
That would be cool to have was a Norwegian race.
Yeah.
I think it always means a lot to the athletes of the country too. Even if they're not racing, they see the top athletes and they know they want to be one of them soon, and so maybe they work harder and be one of them.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and the Flora and Bermuda model has obviously worked well. So sort of, they'll be wanting to recreate that. Is Bermuda on your schedule for later in the year? That's October, obviously, but
for now, yes. I don't know what's like. I maybe don't do stuff and do stuff. It's very like not very set now because it is a long season. But yeah, Bermuda Sprint Distance World Championships is a good thing, I think, and yeah, I would be down for that.
Yes. All right. Well, yes, and for the short term, obviously, in a couple of days, I mean, we'll be in the bubble, but we'll be at least outside of the hotel, and the bubble then continues to Edmonton, and 2 big races ahead then. Yeah,
2 big races, and I'm also very excited for Edmonton. I kind of got to like the Olympic distance more, and so I'm very excited for having another good result in Edmonton, maybe.
Yeah, 2 very different challenges, but obviously wish you the very best of luck in both, and thanks very much for taking the time to come and talk to us.
Thank you so very much, and thank you to be like the end of the boredom today.
Pleasure to be of service. Great. All right, thanks, Laura. Non-Stanford, Matt Hauser and Laura Lindemann there, dialing in from quarantine in Montreal ahead of the weekend's races, which you can watch on triathlonlive.tv from Friday at 11:30am local time. That is 5:30pm in Central Europe, with the women's qualifiers followed by the men's, and then 2 repechage races. Then join us for Saturday's big 3-race finals from 1:30pm local time, 7:30 CEST. And Sunday, the mixed relay is back from its Olympic debut, coverage from 3pm local, 9pm CEST. Thanks for listening.